if I can start the same thing and change someone else's lives, and on top of that, the platform having the best trading conditions, the platform for the trader, not trying to take some money out of them, not trying to scam them in a sense, then we can help more and more people. So our goal for the platform is just
Welcome back to the Words of Rizdom Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the journey and what it takes to be successful, especially in trading. And today I am joined once again by Paladin, and this time, special guest, Omar. How you doing?
Doing well, man.
it's on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's always weird, awkward in the beginning. I always find it strange. It's like, welcome to
Hey, like, call me off guard. Bring you back.
But Omar, me and Paladin just shot an episode just now. And, me and you did an episode back in...
I think it was December almost.
Yeah, start of December, yeah. I remember straight after our episode, I got ill straight away.
Yeah.
But it was great, that episode was our first ever 10,000 view epised. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people don't realize that it's just it's the consistency, and it's every single guest has been part of the growth, and as I said, you hold that record of the first 10,000 views. So I'm sure, no doubt, this will be causing a storm. Maybe we'll hit a new record off this, you never know.
Hopefully.
But what have you been up to since our last episode?
First of all, thank you for having me on, man. Back in December, the growth, first of all, was like amazing since that moment up until now. So first of all, congratulations. I know we just talked about you hitting 30,000 subs, bro. So congrats on that. That was a big milestone. And yeah, I pretty much same old, just pretty much been trading. Obviously working on other business ventures kind of going on. We'll talk about that later in the podcast. But yeah, man, just, been same old, just trading, growing my own content as well. And then, just living life.
That's it. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But I've seen both of you actually just absolutely crushing the Twitter space in particular. I think every platform you've been killing it, but Twitter in particular, you guys have just absolutely taken over. Like, just accelerated. Like, what was the process? Did you plan? Was it just something that naturally happened?
Yeah, so what's funny is Omar and I, we grew together at the same time, basically. I used to use Twitter just to watch the news, I guess. And then one time I had an FTMO payout, and I was like, let me just put my payout out there. And what ended up happening was that tweet blew up. And at that point, I'm like, oh, wow. I had a lot of people messaging me saying, how did you get this payout? How did you do this? And I started tweeting, giving some advice. Those started to blow up as well. And eventually, I just kept posting more and more payouts, being consistent with it. People saw that I was credible. People saw that I was somewhat a real trader in this trading industry, as there are a lot of fake traders out there. And Omar basically was also growing at the same time as me. We had the same amount of followers. We was basically hitting 2, 3, 4, 5K together. And he hit 10K first, even though we started. I'm very competitive. I want to see him win, but I was also competing with him to that 10K point. And for me, I was going to stop at 10K. But then at that point, a lot of people were gaining value from it. A lot of people were thanking me, messaging me. And then I decided, okay, I think I might be an influencer in this industry if I can help other people. The amount of value I've given just through my tweets. And that's when I just kept on tweeting, and we just kept growing and growing together.
Definitely. The same for yourself then, I guess?
Yeah. It was like, it's pretty crazy how it all unfolded. Like, we've talked about this off camera as well, where we just really just had that same exact rise, and it really just came out with just us showing like payouts and just being transparent with the community. Even like, whenever we failed the challenge or if we blew a funded account, we would post it, stuff that people wouldn't do. And I guess the way that Twitter kind of works, it got pushed out a lot. And then, just kind of like the personalities as well, being able to kind of connect with other people, especially on the platform like Twitter, man, like that's really been that type of meteoric rise. And it's just kind of like, it's kind of crazy how it all just played out together, because we kind of went on that journey together and going on this current journey that we're in right now. So yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really only just begun, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And, let's talk about, Twitter, Instagram, obviously YouTube as well. But let's, Instagram versus Twitter. Because I remember Instagram was like the main place everyone was on. And then it seems like a lot of people have sort of migrated over to Twitter, especially over maybe the last year, maybe last 6 months-ish. And I did the same. I only started back in like August time on Twitter. And, I just find the sense of community is much greater in comparison to Instagram. What about you guys? What do you feel?
Yeah, I noticed that on Twitter, it's more or less of showing your lifestyle. It's more of, can he actually provide value from his experience through tweeting? It's more of using words than showing flashy lifestyle like we see on Instagram. If you want to grow on Instagram, show the flashy lifestyle. If you want to grow on tweets, share some valuable information that others can grow from. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think also, I think there's multiple reasons, right? But I think Twitter, a lot of like traders, they go on Twitter because they actually want to get value, like Paladin was saying, right? They want I see accounts that are going 40, 50K on Twitter, getting thousands of likes consistently because they're providing a bunch of like educational content, right? And they're providing it's a great way to kind of communicate as well, like specific points with tweets, you know what I mean? Because people are constantly scrolling. But I also think too, like, because it's like a lot easier to grow on Twitter in terms of organic reach, right? Who knows if that's going to be there in the future, if Twitter changes certain things and you start to paying for engagement, right? Kind of similar to Instagram. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people are migrating to Twitter, because they realize like with Instagram, the growth isn't as organic as it is on Twitter. But I think the number one thing honestly comes down to value, right? On what value are you getting from, like, let's just use the trading niche. What value is someone going to get for someone hopping into their Lambo? It's not going to be much. They're just, they can look up to that. But on Twitter, if you actually want to improve your trading, maybe you might even, like, again, different niches, like email marketing. I see like campaigns and people giving up information on how they do copywriting, things of that nature. So I think overall, Twitter is a really good hub of getting information. And I think that's why a lot more people, alongside with Elon Musk kind of being the owner, have kind of migrated to Twitter.
This is very true. Yeah, very, very true. And I think engagement-wise, like people actually engaging, while on, say, other social media platforms, it's more like just comments rather than tweets back and forth. Like actual conversations are made. And, you can, for example, you could tweet Elon Musk and he might even reply to you. Exactly. While over on Instagram or even YouTube, that's not going to happen, right? So, definitely, I've enjoyed the Twitter space a lot, and I've learned a lot. I wouldn't have met you guys, I don't think, if it wasn't for Twitter either. So it's crazy to see how powerful these platforms can be. What can you talk about, obviously, in your own journeys? Because equally how we talk about the influence side and content side, because that's what we do now. But obviously in your journeys, what advice would you give in terms of being careful how you use these social media platforms?
Yeah, it's best. For me, Twitter was the platform that helped me build my brand. And the way I built my brand was actually putting good information out there. A lot of the information out there is more cliche stuff. I actually started Twitter thinking that I wouldn't blow up just because a lot of the stuff I saw online was bullshit information. I didn't like anything. I thought, okay, I'm not going to make it in this Twitter. I'm not going to make it in this community.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was able to be considered one of the top Twitter influencers in the community. So just make sure that you are putting payouts out there. If you want to grow, the best way is to put payouts and also give valuable information from your payouts, from your experience.
Definitely. How about yourself?
Yeah, so the thing is with social media as a whole, right? I think it also depends on where you are in your journey. I think specifically just speaking about traders, right? I think it's very important that people don't get caught up with having to post content when they kind of haven't mastered their craft. And I think I see that a lot now, right? Because I see, right now I'm 28 years old, and I see a lot of like younger people in their early, maybe even in late teens, like 18, 19. No, like Paladin's
I'm young.
Yeah,
I'm really young.
Yeah, he's an anomaly, right? Because I know other like young 20-year-olds, they're gonna.
The thing is, what you said is master the craft.
Exactly.
It's like you didn't post until after you.
Exactly.
I posted my 4th year of trading.
Exactly. See, like he's a young 21-year-old, but at the end of the day, he's had experience for 4 years. So that's what people have to kind of focus on, that part, right? Like I'm like, because there's so many people who are young and that they aspire to be that at that specific age. You can't expect to start at 21, 22 years old in your journey and think you're going to have Paladin's results, right? And I think so many people, they want to get out there, and I see it all the time where like they're posting all these different types of content, but then they're switching their strategy like 2 months down the line, even like a few weeks down the line. They're adding different things. They're talking about things that you can tell that they're not really confident in talking about. And I think it's very important, like if someone's like, master the craft first. Like social media is going to be here forever, right? It's so much easier to grow. And again, me and Paladin are proof because we were only posting on Twitter almost a year to this date, maybe a little bit more, right? And like we've grown significantly, and it's because when not even just about like posting payouts, but if we talk about trading, people can resonate, right? The payouts obviously help to get more engagement and to kind of like for your own credibility and like passing funding challenges and all that stuff. That's all cool. But also you want, like when you speak about trading, you want people to be able to resonate. Like, okay, this guy actually knows, this guy or girl knows what they're talking about, right? They have that experience and they could just tell like there's some level of expertise when it comes to, okay, the way that he's talking about the charts, the way he's talking about psychology, all this stuff, it makes sense. It doesn't sound like, okay, does this guy really know what he's talking about? You know? So again, the craft, number one, master the craft. And then afterwards, once you're consistent enough and you're doing like, you know, you're passing challenges, you're able to grow an account, right? You're getting funding payouts, then you can start to look a little bit more to the content side, right? Because everyone wants to be a content creator because they want that extra stream of income. But make sure that you have that first stream of income when it comes to trading first, right? You don't want people to, you don't want to also have that imposter syndrome when you're posting all this stuff and you're not even too sure of yourself, you know? So I think that's very important.
Yeah, to add on to that, I get a lot of people messaging me saying, oh, how did you become an influencer in this industry? And they don't have any type of proof or nothing. They just want to be an influencer and drop a course. And I told them that the best way to become one is to actually have results, proof, the payouts. If you're someone who has no type of influence, no type of followers, but you are a consistently profitable trader, you have the payouts, I would recommend starting on Twitter first. Post some information from your experience, how you can help others. And then what I did was I converted my Twitter followers to Instagram. And then I started posting reels. And eventually, once I gained enough followers on Instagram, I converted them to YouTube. So now I have all three platforms, but it took me a year. And on top of that, I mastered the craft. On my fourth year, I started creating content. Not on my first year, or not when I wasn't profitable, or not when I was trying to figure it out. So, yeah.
The process, it's a process to follow. And, you know, a lot of people, I've seen even students of mine who start trying to, you know, make case studies and stuff like that. And I get why, like they have good intention, they want to help people, but at the end of the day, I think it takes away from yourself, because it's not like content takes a massive amounts of time when you do it right, and it doesn't take away from your trading in terms of time, like we discussed on our podcast. I think we discussed it on our previous one too. But obviously, if you haven't mastered the craft, then it is taking away energy that you need to be able to just funnel into one thing, which is obviously the trading at the time. Once you've got the trading, as you guys have said, then look to transition. Then you can. And the thing is, not everyone wants to be an influencer. Obviously, a lot of people do, but not everyone does. Not everyone enjoys social media, and I completely, you know, respect that, and I understand that 100%. Because another thing we can touch on is obviously, you know, we see so much, you know, what people would consider beef or fighting, or you know, different opinions, and people getting really polarized on one side versus the other, and that's very natural generally in society. Of course, you know, we see all the people always talk about left and right, and you know, whatever, loads of different, you know, sides. Even in sports, you know, even in sports, people get so polarizing, like, you know, this team is better than that team, or whatever it may be. But in trading, we see it a lot, and it's not really necessary, is it? But you know, I'm sure you guys have found it. Maybe you haven't done it yourself. I haven't personally like ever been like on one side versus the other, but I'm sure you've seen loads of it. What do you say to those sort of people out there who are still trying to find their way, but yet they're getting themselves caught up into this drama?
Omar?
Yeah, like I specialize there, right? Nah, but I mean, listen, for someone like, especially people who've been following me from the jump, they've known like I kind of went back and forth at the beginning because I fell into that trap, you know what I mean? Like always having to feel the need to respond, you know what I mean? And I think that comes from a level of insecurity at some point because you feel like you have to kind of validate yourself to the audience, right? My biggest thing is this, right? Even now, like I don't really go back and forth with anyone at all, right? Every here and there, you know, just like a little cheeky joke and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, but you'll never see me now going back and forth. And it's because, man, it just drains your energy. And I think the best way, and I've told so many people that have hit me up who've been trying to grow on like the social media, specifically on Twitter, I'm like, yo, and Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, just turn off your comment section. Like now I only get notifications from people that I follow. So, because I don't want to get notifications from someone who's like, you know, talking smack, you know, or like this other influencer saying that, you know, you suck. And I'm just like, bro, like none of this stuff really genuinely matters. Like at the end of the day, I'm trying to grow on like my social media, and I'm also trying to grow my trading accounts, right? Outside of those two things, like I'm not really focused on what this person's gonna say, because you're never gonna please anyone.
Yeah.
Dude, I even remember last year, when I was like, being very transparent with like, blown accounts, payouts, all this stuff. I was still getting hate during that period as well. And even when I have like a public Telegram, just, posting all my trade ideas out there during the sessions as well, like, like real trade ideas, even with consistency, people will still have something to say. And then at that point, I'm just realizing, like, what, at the end of the day, as long as I'm locked in on my journey and I know what I'm doing is going to propel me forward, and I'm going to be helping a bunch of people, bringing value, that's the audience I'm focused on. If someone doesn't like my content, like, that's cool, man. Like, then you can follow someone else. Like, I'm not pressed to try to like impress every single person. Like, the people that are going to, ride with me, they're going to come view my content, they're going to support me. And the people that don't, bro, it's not necessary. Like, I don't need everyone's validation.
100%. And I think a lot of people do find themselves just in social media in general, maybe in the trading space in particular as well, that they are striving just to impress as many people, if not everyone. And that, they can't handle when someone says a negative thing. Like, even on the podcast, look, people will say like, Riz, you talk too much, or you didn't talk about trading enough, or you're not showing technicals. And I'm just like, you can't make everyone happy, is to say, And yet, I think something that, funnily enough, actually, something that Raja said.
Yeah. My best friend.
That's it, yeah. That's it. We talked about it. We're going to get like a debate table, We're going to have Raja on one side, Omar on the other. We're going to make that happen. But something he said, which really resonated with me, was like, if you focus, a lot of people, unfortunately, they just naturally focus on the negative. But if you just do the opposite, where you just focus on the positive, which 9 times out of 10 is actually 95% of the comments or 98% of the comments, then you solved your problem, I think we're just naturally ingrained to like sort of be like, oh, this guy said this. I have 100 comments, one bad one. You're like, oh, why did he say that? Then you got these 99 great comments of like, thank you for this value. I really learned this, or I really resonated with this. So ever since then, I kind of literally just like, okay, cool. That anytime there is a negative comment, I just say, cool, thank you. I always just reply to comments on YouTube, just like, thank you for tuning in. Whatever they say, thank you for watching. And that's it, you fight like hatred with kindness, if anything, or just ignore it.
Yeah, that was the biggest shock to me. Like, as an influencer, the amount of hate you guys get, the amount of hate we get is crazy.
You guys get the hate.
People like me.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the amount of hate we get, I didn't expect, like, when you're an influencer, there'll be like a lot of people who hate you. No matter, even if you do everything right, they'll always have something to say about you. So what made me change my mindset is, who cares what other people think? As long as you know what you're doing is right, as long as you know that you're a good person, other people's opinion of you doesn't really matter. So I know a lot of influencers, like new influencers, they really struggle with people writing negative comments and writing all this bad stuff. But the fact is, I remember Gary Vee said it. He said you should feel empathy or sympathy towards these people, because they're in a position where they're just writing hate comments to you. So imagine where they are in life right now. So that's one thing I instilled when I became an influencer, to try to block out the negativity and hate.
That's interesting to hear, actually. I really like that. I've not heard that one before. But you're talking about like hate and sort of, it can be a distraction, as we talked about, that this beef online and stuff. But like, obviously, you guys trade or have traded and learned ICT concepts, for example. And as you can imagine, it's prime example, right? Someone who is essentially doing a lot of free value and has helped a lot of people. So a lot of support. But equally, he gets, I wouldn't say the complete like matching or like balanced in hate, but he gets a lot of hate, right? A lot of haters, a lot of negative comments. And as someone who was learning from him, for example, how did that ever like sort of influence you in terms of like, or be like a hindrance, if you will, during your journey, when you're trying to learn from someone and you're seeing like people saying, oh, he's a fake trader, or he's this or he's that. Not just ICT in general, but there might have been someone else you learned from as well. But generally, was that sort of like a distraction at any point?
So I studied ICT's 2017 course, I believe, and back in 2021 mentorship. And he wasn't as big back then, I would say.
Yeah.
Compared in 2022, where he has a lot of YouTubers who just throw hate at him. So there wasn't really that much hate comments. Everyone just used to praise him. And I never surrounded myself with anyone that showed any hate towards him. Everyone in my circle was just praising him and saying, this guy is the best out there. So
it wasn't there, yeah. How about for yourself? Anyone else?
I'm trying to think, because that's actually like a good point that you made. There was moments, right? Because like with the ICT mentorship, it was a 12-month thing, right? People nowadays, they're they're a lot luckier because they have the full 12 months. So it's easier to kind of tune it out because you have all the content there and you can make the decision for yourself, right? Back then you had it month by month. So you had to endure 12 months of like, you know, slow content, even though he did like weekly commentaries, right? So like there was moments where like, you know, deep into like in the beginning, no, like it wasn't an issue. But then like, you know, when you're going on in like, you know, let's say month 4, month 5, month 6, and you're kind of still struggling as a trader, you're like, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Because, you know, because again, like you see all the different conversations that's being had on social media, and then that starts to seep in your head like, damn, am I really learning from someone who actually knows what they're talking about? Things of that nature. So yeah, that definitely comes up. But I think now, anyone who's like studying ICT specifically, like because they have all that content that's already on the YouTube channel, they can make a more informed decision by going through that content. If someone who's dedicated, they can go through it, like they're going to be able to, I'll say this, they'll be able to skim through it, right? Yeah. They won't be able to like really digest it. It's going to take a while, but you can kind of see what's he about a lot faster, in my opinion.
No, definitely. And talking about ICT, obviously you did an interview. I know we did our podcast. We didn't really talk about it, but what was that like for you? Obviously, you know, you went through that journey of, you know, the hardship and the struggles, and then, you know, did the 250,000 a year on the prop firms and payouts, and then you had an interview with, obviously, you know, one of your mentors, if you will, and ICT, the first interview as well. What was that like? What was that moment like for you?
So the funny thing is, at that point, I was just leveling up in all aspects of my life. I just hit a new milestone. I hit a new payout. I had ICT. So all these things were not, it didn't really shock me out of nowhere. It's like, oh wow, okay, it's another cool thing that's happening in my life. Because everything was up spiraling. I had a point where everything was down spiraling. I persevered through it, and then it started up spiraling. So it wasn't as crazy as like, oh my God, like if it was like 2 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, I'll be nervous. But that interview, I was just like, this is so cool. I get to talk to him. My first interview online, I was very nervous for that one. With the ICT one, I wasn't as nervous. I was just calm, and I was just excited to talk to him like in person, like be one of the first ones. That was a pretty cool thing.
Did you get to speak to him like kind of like off camera, off interview as well?
Yeah, he was very I felt like I was just talking to like a regular person. He didn't come off as like the best trader out there. Like
in the machine,
I have tens of thousands of people all over the world under me. No, he was just a very cool, calm person, just asking me, telling me how his family was very very proud of me, I guess, in the sense that they're very proud of him and me because they saw how he basically changed my life. So that was pretty cool. I mentioned that,
100%. Yeah, it's incredible. And as you said, an interesting thing you touched on there, which was the sort of the spiraling, you know, because I felt the same, obviously, with like the podcast, for example. You know, there's just like milestone after milestone, but it was all, from my personal journey, just like consistent work. And we talked about that on obviously our episode. Was it the same thing where you just kind of, you are hitting these milestones, but you're not sort of feeling like, oh yeah, you know, this is incredible now, that's it, you know, I feel super great, because did you recognize that it was simply because of all your consistent hard work?
Yeah, so from the Ironman, that's when it first started, you know, spiraling. I did an Ironman. The next cool thing I did was I met a billionaire named Bill Ackman, who I looked up to. Like, I looked up to this guy a lot. And the funny thing is, the way I was able to meet him was when I was a doorman. The director of Columbia Business School had a event with him, and I always used to talk to her about Bill Ackman and all that, and she invited me. So then Bill Ackman, and then I had that 400K funded account with FTMO I maxed out, then the withdrawals, and then my brand started growing, and then ICT, and then it just kept up spiraling, which was pretty insane, and it didn't really feel like a shock because it all kept happening, it just all kept going up.
And how do you control then the, you know, not getting complacent or slowing down, you know, because you're hitting these milestones?
There was a lot of thinking, because like I mentioned previously, once you're a full-time day trader, you have a lot of time. And then at first, our goal is just to make money and help our parents, right? So when that is done, what's next? And then I started slowly realizing my purpose, which was to keep elevating myself so I can help more and more people, because that's the point of life. I want to make sure that my parents' suffering does not go into vain, that it actually went towards a good contribution towards the world.
100%. I love that. And same with you, Omar. The same thing, like, obviously you've had the payouts, you've had the growth on the social media platforms as well. And, you know, the trading journey, it wasn't easy. You still went through the struggle as well. And what was it like for you then when you started to hit these payouts? You know, started to get more funding, started to hit the personal account, started to build the social media presence. Same thing, you're hitting these milestones. Was it a case of, again, same question, recognizing the work you'd put in to do it?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what it is? It's kind of like crazy how it all works out, because, and I've talked about it on Twitter before, where like most traders are kind of like one breakout year or month or something to kind of really starting to see like a lot of growth. And I think, again, like me and Paladin, I would say our breakout year was 2022, you know, and then obviously continuing on 2023. But it was honestly just a few moments of everything kind of coming together. You know, the trading model that you choose, everything coming together, the profitability starting to come in. And that's the thing, like once the profitability comes in, it's very easy to grow on socials if you're willing to kind of like put time into creating content. So that's why even like at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about make sure you just master the craft, because everything becomes so much easier afterwards. Because you can, like, if you're able to get payouts consistently, people are going to look up to you for that, right? You can make content regarding that type of stuff. And you can make, and obviously then you can get into the content game and start understanding, okay, what videos do well on YouTube? What tweets do well on Twitter? What kind of Instagram reels work well on Instagram? And then you can start to develop a lot more time into those other avenues, you know? Because like I remember you guys just talked about in your guys' podcast when it was in regards to you have so much time as a trader, because as a day trader, swing trader, whatever, you're only trading for a few hours out of the day. And then after that, you have your whole day, assuming like you don't have a job or whatever. If you're full time, you have so much more time to dedicate to other things. So it's like, why not utilize that time in a more efficient manner? Now, again, if someone, like you said earlier, doesn't want to be on social media, doesn't want to be an influencer, listen, like, you know, Godspeed to you. Then, you know, you could focus on other stuff. It doesn't have to be an influencer. It can be, you know, if you want to start maybe a construction business or an insurance business or whatever business it is, you have the money now to kind of go ahead and, you know, start to grow your nest egg of, you know, different income sources. Because God forbid something happened to someone in terms of like, you know, their own health. You can't trade. You know what I mean? And Iman Gadzi, shout out to him. He said something like that was really profound that really hit me hard on Twitter, where he was talking about how if, you know, God forbid he was in a coma, he would still be generating 8 figures a year. You know, like God forbid if any trader got into a coma, your income source stops, man. And I think people take that for granted. You know, it's a lot of young kids that kind of come in, but they don't understand. Yeah, but they don't. But you know, like shout out to Paladin, because he's able to see the bigger picture already at this age, which is like phenomenal. So like, but when you get a little bit older, into like, you know, your 30s, 40s, you know, your cognitive ability might decline, your health might decline, even if you keep yourself in good shape. Even just like, you know, some natural disasters might happen to you. You know what I mean? So again, it's just important to use some of the money to, like, you know, invest in other avenues where you can ultimately, you know, bring in more sources of income coming in, just to keep yourself safe, you know?
100%. No, I completely agree with you. And the interesting thing is a lot of traders, when they get into trading, they do have other goals already. They're actually thinking, I'm going to use trading to fund those goals, you know? And so a lot of people, they do that. They get into the trading bit, but then they don't actually move on to the bit that they originally had, you know, whether it's real estate, for example. But then equally also, we could even mention that people who aren't maybe entrepreneurs on the other side of things. Yes, I would definitely agree, have the multiple sources of income. As we said, like trading, you know, you might get to a point where you might have a family. Therefore, you might not be able to actively trade as much. And therefore, if that's your only source of income, then you're going to struggle. Obviously, any form of investment or business is going to be wise to do. But if, let's say, you didn't want to do the social media side, then someone could be, you know, trading and just looking after their family, you know? I feel like sometimes there's always just too much focus on just entrepreneurship, just grind, and I get it. And it is necessary, don't get me wrong. You know, and if you want to be hyper successful, then you have to do it. And if anything, you have to go above and beyond what you even think is needed. But there's also equally the other side, where if someone is just happy with what their trading profits are, it sustains them enough, maybe they have quite a, a realistic lifestyle that they're happy with, they're content, and that's the most important bit. They just want to spend time with the family. Fair play. I always say, like, you know, I always find, you know, people who are happy with sort of more of an average looking lifestyle and sort of level of success, I always not have resentment towards them, but I feel slightly jealous, because I wish I could have that. You know, I wish I could just not have to do above and beyond or try and be the best or try and be the best version of myself 24/7, because it requires a lot. There's a lot of energy and time. But similar to yourself, was there any moments of like complacency seeping in? When you were hitting these milestones, was there any moments where you caught yourself like getting a bit lazy or anything?
Yeah. We just talked about this too, like off camera, where like you do get like it's just natural, I think. And I've listened to like other traders, I've listened to other like entrepreneurs. There's always a moment when like you realize like, okay, all my bills can be comfortably paid. I have a decent amount of money kind of like saved up. Last year again like was my biggest year financially, with trading, with other avenue sources of income as well. So like, and it was all jump started because like now I had the money to kind of like invest in other things and other avenues to bring in more money. And then there was a moment of complacency because like let's be honest, man, like trading is not the most intriguing thing in the world, for me at least, right? Like it's not, you come in, you trade, and there's most days you might just not even like trade because there's nothing really that's setting up, but you have to wait and you have to sit there for a few hours just to be there if there's a moment in time where you have to place a trade, right? So then all that stuff was getting a little bit, it was kind of getting mundane. It was kind of getting a little bit boring. And then there was a little bit complacency where I just stopped, like even just took like some, like, a week or two off from the markets just to kind of just like, find other interests and stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely a level of complacency, I think. Once you kind of realize like money isn't that much of an issue, where you're good for the next few years, you know what I mean? Things are going to be taken care of. And then they're just natural, but then you have to kind of pick yourself up from that. And then, maybe start other ventures or just do something that might be a little bit different or elevate yourself in some sense.
Definitely. And, where did the mindset of like multiple sources of income come? Because obviously being 21, for example, is not normal, as we talked about, able to sort of have that vision and mindset so early on. So what was it for you? Where did you sort of pick that up from, or where did that mindset come from?
Yeah, when I first started the journey, I used to think, $10,000 a month is a lot of money. If I had that, I would be set. And I got the money. I did do the traveling, trade in the morning, travel. I went to 4 different countries after I became a full-time day trader. And throughout the entire vacation, I just kept thinking, I got to level up. Because as my brand grew, I developed more relationships with other people. And they make 50, 100K. I know someone that makes millions a month. And me making such little money compared to them, if you compare it to a regular person, wow, you're making a lot of money in a month. But I'm comparing myself to all these other people, and I'm just like, I'm not doing enough. So that's what keeps me elevating myself. It's just changing your circle, trying to find a circle that's better than you. That's what keeps you elevating in life.
Definitely. And it's not a case, I know a lot of people, when they hear that in terms of like changing the circle or elevating the circle, they a lot of the time have the assumption that you have to like cut off all your friends, never speak to them again and go find new ones, And I don't think that's the case, obviously, but I think it's also the case of understanding that you could have friends who you see and you're cool with, you chill with, and that's what their purpose is, right? Not as in like that's all you use them for, or anything, but like that's the reason why they're your friends, because they're your friends to just relax with. While equally, you can have a separate circle, which is your business circle, your entrepreneurship circle, your level up circle, if you will. So it doesn't have to be that your circle literally has to be everything. It has to be like your friends, your family, and your entrepreneurship circle as well. And I think I was guilty of that. I used to keep trying to make my friends be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It wasn't in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you guys ever done that as well?
Let me just stop you for a moment there, guys, because I want to tell you about our other sponsor, and I have partnered with, and I'm very excited to tell you about this one, TradeZella. Now, as someone who's a trader and myself, I learned how important journaling is. Now, I only wish I had a software like this. Now, it is going to revolutionize the trading journey. I cannot wait for you guys to check out TradeZella. TradeZella is the most in-depth automated journal I've seen. You can now connect with MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5. So it's available for everyone, whether you trade options or whether you trade prop firms or your own personal account. Now a task that everyone finds annoying, journaling their trades, which is yet so important. Everyone needs to journal their trades. They need the data, but yet very few people do it. Why? Because of the struggle. And that is what TradeZella is here to fix for you. It goes into such depth into your trading and your statistics that you'll be able to see every element of your trading. If you want to have different strategies, you can create different playbook. If you want to be able to review a trade, you can actually replay it so that it will show you the price action as if it was live. You'll be able to see the best performing days, the worst performing days. The depth is unreal. I am extremely confident that even from the beginner trader to the advanced trader will find TradeZella absolutely game-changing. The level of detail that it will provide you on your trades is insane. Even things that I'd never thought of were available on TradeZella. Suddenly you're going to be able to see the patterns and what you can improve to be the best prop firm trader possible. That is the TradeZella team, and that is why I am happy to be sponsored by them. Check out the code below, Riz10, for 10% off your TradeZella subscription. The link is in the description, and let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, you don't want to be that annoying guy that'd be like, yo, you should be like, like, bro, some people, they're okay, they have a good career, they have a good job and stuff like that. They're saving money and they're just kind of like elevating in a different sense, Like, yeah, but you don't want to be that guy who's always like the annoying Gary Vee type that's always in your friends group.
That was me.
Yeah.
No, that's why they left me. I don't know which one. But yeah, no, it's true. It is very true though, because
with my friend group, I see them once in a while. It's not like back then in high school I used to talk to them every week, see them every week. But now it's more like maybe I talk to them a couple of days in a month, or maybe I see them maybe once a month, because I like to stick with people I talk mainly with people who are above me.
yes,
Because if I just keep talking with people in my friend circle, just like every day, like interact with them, then maybe I'll feel like, oh, I'm doing really good. Especially I'm a 21-year-old kid, so everyone in my age is like, oh my God, like I feel bad for them to compare themselves to me. Like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Look at him. Sometimes I feel bad, but
it's good for them though, isn't it?
it's good.
Because just as you said, in terms of like you wanting to be higher up, essentially them having you around or knowing you, that allows them to see you're the higher up for them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You might not see it that way right now. You will.
No, they have grew from just being around me. That's I've seen.
And that's what you want to be. It's an interesting thing. Like there's a geometric pattern called the flower of life. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but essentially it's like a circle, and then more circles branch off to it. And then when you do it, actually, I wish. but yeah, the circle. And once you add enough circles, it creates like a flower image. And the more circle, and it keeps going, overlapping. It keeps creating this flower. And it's like a geometric pattern. And I always loved it because the analogy for me, I've always wanted to help people, very similar to both of you guys as well. And the analogy for me is that, you have your circle, and then through your positivity, your value, your growth, it will overlap, and it'll just create this beautiful image, and as you said, people from just being around you has grown, let alone obviously the impact you've had on the wider world and the wider audience on your platforms. But essentially that's what you're building. You're just building this huge network, right, which overlaps. So your value and your influence has improved someone else, which then means your legacy is growing like this outward. So like you might help only 100 people in your lifetime, but when I say 100 people, I mean you made them successful, right, or happy, or content, whatever it may be. But those 100 people do 100 people too.
Yeah.
And then that compounds out to, as you said, changing the world, right? And I have the same mission of wanting to change the world, but when I was younger, I used to literally think I had to literally be like I don't know, like on TV broadcaster to the whole world saying, you got to change this, you got to change that. But in reality, all you have to do is change your circle, you improve your circle, they improve theirs and theirs and theirs, and it's just that knock-on effect is extremely powerful. We don't even realize it. And talking about change, talking about the journey and wanting to elevate, as we can both see, you both have Smart Funded Trader t-shirts on. We talked about obviously on our podcast, and we mentioned obviously how you're doing it with Omar as well. What was the vision? You've had the breakout year using prop firms as well, shown countless payouts, been transparent in terms of your journeys, as you mentioned about, whether you failed accounts, blown accounts, wherever it may be. And here you are, you're going to embark on a new journey. What was the vision behind it?
Yeah, so it's funny because going back to everything coming full circle, me and Paladin kind of growing together and stuff like that as well. I was actually met, like this is like the early on days where I was actually met in December where like someone reached out to me. They wanted for me to kind of like create my own prop firm, and then they kind of work on all the back end stuff. Obviously, like I wasn't familiar with the whole, I know how prop firms worked, obviously, because I used them all last year, but I didn't understand the business model. So kind of wanted to learn a little bit more first. And once I kind of learned a little bit more about the industry from the business side of things, I actually reached out to Paladin like, yo, do you want to do this with me? Because our brands have kind of been intertwined with prop firms, right? From last year going on to this year, so it was like a perfect partnership. And then, yeah, we want to kind of create the best type of product, and we wanted to have like full autonomy when it came to creating the product and the trading conditions for the trader, right? Because, last year when we were putting on a lot of people to different firms, we get the questions asked often, like which firm do you go with and stuff like. And if I don't want to recommend a specific firm, and then if something happens, like they don't get a payout, then it comes back on me, like, oh, you're the one who recommended, you know. So that was part of it as well, where it's like, you know what, let's create our own product. Let's create some of the best trading conditions in terms of rule sets. Let's also create the best trading environment as well, where someone comes in, you know, they're trading with raw spreads. They have good trading conditions, right? Let's use our expertise together in order to kind of create some of the best products. And once we launch, even get more innovative, you know, give back to the community, you know, just provide as much value as possible, whether it's through education, through like, you know, bringing on like potential psychologists, whatever it may be, to kind of help the trader, because we've lived through it. So we know, hey, this firm does this well, this firm does that well. Let's combine some of these things and create one of the best products out there. So that was the vision. And then, yeah, finally, after going all the way from like, we were planning it from what, like end of January, yeah, pretty much January up until now, to make sure that we had, you know, we did things the right way.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. Sounds amazing, man. And honestly, you know, I can see exactly why, you know, if you've gone through that journey yourself. And I think the biggest point you mentioned there, in my opinion, was, well, one of the biggest points anyway, was the fact that you know, have people, so many people asking you
Exactly.
which prop firm to go to. And I understand the sort of hesitancy, because I had on earlier today, actually, Jessica from Funding Talent.
Yeah.
You know, and it was an incredible interview, because obviously a lot of people might feel a certain kind of way, and fair play, no problem. Hopefully from hearing the interview, you can understand her insights and her perspective. But, you know, at the end of the day, I said to her, and I say it to you guys as well, and it kind of reflects what you were saying, is that anything can happen with these prop firms, right? And it's your reputation on the line when you have to refer someone, and no matter how good they may be or seem, or how good they've been, anything could change. And it's a bit of a pressure to have, you know, and I can understand the hesitancy. So like having your own, where you can trust, you know yourself, you know your values, and other people can see those values, it makes perfect sense. You know, you mitigate that risk, if you will.
Exactly.
You know? But how about yourself? What vision-wise? I know we discussed it a bit already, but is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I mean, I always wanted to start a company that can provide value to others, and prop firms literally saved my trading career. Without prop firms, I don't think I would have been here. And coming from prop firms, if I can start the same thing and change someone else's lives, and on top of that, the prop firm having the best trading conditions, the prop firm for the trader, not trying to take some money out of them, not trying to scam them in a sense, then we can help more and more people. So our goal for the prop firm is just to provide as much value to everyone. We want to see other people win. We gain more satisfaction seeing people win than taking some money out of them.
Definitely. And you know, I did mention to you before, but I asked you, Omar, as well. Yeah, there's a lot of people coming into this space now, you know, and there's benefits to it, of course, right? But at the end of the day, what's going to set you apart? What are you going to do differently in terms of these other companies?
Yeah, so the biggest difference, well, first of all, number one, like when in regards to like all these different prop firms, you see so many different prop firms are coming out. Like most of the ones that I see that are coming out, like specifically on Twitter, because I think it's easier for them to try to get traction. A lot of them, you don't know who the CEOs are. Like they'll come out and they'll be, and again, there's nothing wrong with like, you know, paying influencers or like, because it's marketing, right? At the end of the day, but you don't see like their own brand or their own face that's attached to it. You just see their logos, right? Especially the newer ones that are like completely brand new, that don't really have a presence, who haven't really been active for like too long. You won't really see who's behind the scenes, right? At the very least, like, you know, when we're putting ourselves out there, you know, like, hey, if something goes wrong, we can go to Omar, we can go to Paladin, you know, we can go to the founders. We know where they are. So we're putting our reputation on the line. So I think that in terms of credibility, and also in terms of being able to kind of take accountability if something were to go wrong, and us willing to take that accountability, like, bro, that's just the number one thing. Because it blows my mind that some people just trust some of these companies that just come out of nowhere and they don't even know who the person is. They can just jump ship the next day, you know, as we've seen with some of the companies already. And also, like, another thing that the benefit of us kind of being and having our own company in terms of the prop firm space is we actually came from like the industry, right? We're not like some other like trading influencers who came up from like flipping accounts or growing accounts or whatever it may be. So we've actually experienced the different types of challenges. We've experienced like the different types of trading conditions, what the people would want, because again, we went through that experience. Some influencers out there, they might have a funding company as well, but some of them have never taken a prop firm challenge. And I think that's where the biggest edge in that business side of things lies, because Paladin and I have taken countless trading challenges, right? We've gotten paid out from different firms. We understand what type of things what can we do to make the customer experience like flawless, right? Obviously, it's never going to be 100% flawless because there's always going to be some sort of issues. But at the end of the day, when we're able to kind of come together and then put our ideas out there, right, and create a product that we know that prop firm traders want, I think that's just the biggest edge because we've came up from it. So yeah, so I think those two things combined is just what's going to separate, honestly, Smart Funded Trader from the rest. And yeah, plus our work ethic. I mean, we have a lot of things in mind that we're gonna be launching.
And to add on, basically what Omar said about our brand being on the line.
Yeah.
That's why it's been taking us forever. We've been doing this for almost 4 or 5 months now.
Yep.
If we didn't really care about the prop firm, we could have started it within a month. We'll just find a random broker we don't care about and then just get the back end. But Omar and I, we've been looking for we've been on calls with multiple investors. We've been on call with multiple brokers, and we're just trying to have the best customer experience. We're trying to see, we know the pros and cons of certain prop firms. We know what traders want, and we're just trying to match it all together and build the best product for the prop firm industry.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And you both brought up some really good points. I think the main one being that, as you said, you're prop firm traders who then will start a prop firm.
Yep.
So therefore, you've done the different types of prop firms out there, different types of accounts, different conditions, different maybe even challenge types, for example.
Yep.
And you've done the payouts,
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you guys starting a prop firm, you have the actual necessary experience, because a lot of prop firm owners are failed traders.
Yeah.
Right? They couldn't make money from trading, so then they start a prop firm. Or worse yet, they used to be IBs, for example.
Yeah.
Right? And then, people are clocked onto that sort of, not scam, but like essentially that money-making scheme, if you will. And therefore, okay, what can we do instead? Because that money's dried up now. Oh,
Yeah.
prop firm, right? And yet they still try similar tactics. And I always say red flags, for example, is like if they buy followers, why? Why do you need to buy followers, right? Just grow naturally. It's hard, don't get me wrong, but grow naturally. So I always say the same thing to people, like these red flags of these people. And even if the prop firm might be legitimate in terms of they'll pay out and stuff, but at the end of the day, that's still a red flag. Why would they need to do that? Why need to fake anything?
Yeah.
Why not just stick to being authentic? And what I love is that you guys already have your brand. It's not like you're just two random guys because sometimes you see a prop firm that does have a face to it,
Yeah.
but it's just a random person, right? And they've only essentially built their name off the back of the prop firm versus built your name off your own back, of your own work ethic and results, and then built a prop firm after, right? So I like that. I really do. And I know you guys mentioned it to me I don't know how long ago, about a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, and you said it's been in the works for a while, and and great things take time. As I said, like a lot of these firms do just rush.
Yeah.
They just come out and, especially relating back to the funding talent situation, speed is definitely not a positive when launching a firm or a business in general.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate to see because at the end of the day, the worst thing, as you guys said, is about the customer, right? It's about the traders and making sure that they get the best conditions and the best journey.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, with a lot of these prop firms who are just propping up, who don't have the right intentions, don't have the reputation on the line. They have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
It's a hidden face. Yeah, they might have their name out there, but if no one knows who that name is or where they're at or anything like that or any information whatsoever, it's so easy to do that. And the people who get hurt at the end of the day are the traders.
Exactly.
And that's the worst thing, But hopefully, when people do things right, and I think more people should do things right because it sets a new tone. Because a lot of the feedback I get, for example, on the podcast is you're breaking down barriers,
Yeah.
right? The industry is shifting because they're saying because of me. I don't. It's not like egotistical or anything like that. But it's like before it would be like everyone versus each other.
Yeah.
Community versus community. Course versus course, mentor versus mentor, whatever it may be. Trading style versus trading style. Well, now it's. Yeah, I can have you guys on. I could have like Raja Banks on. I can have on whoever, right? And it's creating hopefully a healthier situation, and it will only breed more, right? So you guys creating this prop firm and having this vision will hopefully only create more, which essentially would be competition for you, no doubt.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as you guys have the right values and intention, if you start to see more of those values and intentions within firms, that's a positive.
Yeah.
It's a win-win because obviously it will allow you to elevate your game so that you can stay on top. But
Yeah.
equally, it impacts, and it's kind of like the flower again, like your impact will then impact the space.
Yeah, and when it comes to like the whole prop firm niche as well, like the way that we kind of view it as well is like, we think Paladin and I are very similar, all three of us really, in terms of like having that abundance mindset. Like we don't view as like, oh, this, we got to destroy this firm, we got to destroy that firm. At the end of the day, we just want to set a standard, right? Because even if someone like trades with a different firm, or even better, yeah, like most people, they trade with multiple firms. Like this notion that, oh yeah, people are only going to trade with us. It's like, no, people are going to trade with us. People might trade with another firm. Once they might get max allocation with us, or maybe they want to diversify, get one account with us, one account with maybe like an FTMO, whatever it may be, right? We don't see it as like, oh yeah, we're trying to destroy every other firm out there. Like, yeah, we're competitive and we want to take that number one spot, right? And that's our goal. That's our mission. But at the end of the day, as long as like, if we can kind of put like a standard on the prop firm niche where like, the customer service is like top notch, the trading conditions and the customer experience is being taken into consideration as the number one most important thing, then it makes other companies kind of like, up their game. And then that benefits the trader overall, because we're not worried about someone trading with another firm. Like, listen, if someone's chooses not to go with us and maybe it's go another firm, maybe that's because of something that we have to improve on, So at the end of the day, we just want to put the customer first. And we know the product that we have out there, especially with like the spreads, the no time limits, right? That's a very big one that everyone like typically wants. And then given the full 10% max drawdown, right? Because some firms only have 8%, given the max allocation to $400,000, having a way to scale up, right? And again, these are just the beginning. We have a lot of things in store that, we're not going to talk about obviously because we want to keep it low key for now. But yeah, man, like that's really the goal. Just give the trader the best possible conditions. And it's like, hey, if you're a good trader and you're good enough to get funded, we're giving you as much things in your favor. Here's an opportunity to go ahead and do it. And we're not hiding from anything. We're going to kind of put ourselves out there. We took our time with this for a reason. And we also have like a partner behind the scenes that's making sure that has experience in all of this to make sure that, everything is very smooth with the company in terms of paying people out on time, giving the accounts out on time. So yeah, we thought this very well thought out throughout the last few months.
Definitely.
Yeah, in the end, we just want to see other traders win. We know how hard this industry is, how hard it is to be successful. And if our prop firm can be the role model to other prop firms, then it's a win. That's all we want to see in the end, just other people win.
No, definitely. I love the reflection on like wanting to be the number one, but understanding that you're not trying to do it in a malicious way. That's your competitiveness. And if anything, you want to create something so great that it's a no-brainer that it would be number one, And I love that mentality because at the end of the day, that's what's necessary for innovation. Innovation isn't easy. Innovation is so hard in terms of trying to do something different. So like with you guys, for example, and your content, for example, it's unique content, the unique style of editing, for example, the unique style of what you're putting out there, whether it's tweets, whether it's posts, whether it's YouTube videos. And it's not easy, right? Like the creative process is actually quite difficult in terms of you're not just trying to do, hey, top 3 tips of this, or top 3 tips of that. And even if you do, you're trying to do it in a way that hasn't been done before. And that's so hard. And then reality being that once you do it, everyone else is going to try and do it because they see the value or they see the growth that you've had and they want to replicate it.
Exactly.
But I think what it really boils down to, which I'm getting a sense from you guys, is the intention.
Yep.
Where's the intention? Is the intention on how can we make money as a business, or is the intention on how can we give the best service and, journey to the trader? And I believe truly, and I've always believed that if you give the best service to the trader and best value to the trader, you'll have the best, the most money as well as a reflection. Because everything kind of like a mutual exchange, versus I've been in obviously companies before in terms of trading companies, FX companies, where they didn't care about the consumer, only the business. And then they might have made money for a short period of time. It normally ends up collapsing.
Yep.
But even if they didn't collapse, let's say, they would have made 10x more if they just put the focus on the trader and the customer over the business, right? And I think it takes a certain caliber of people with the right intention to do that. And unfortunately in this world, not just trading, but in this world, because I feel like sometimes we can get too like focused on the trading industry being bad, when in reality, look at drop shipping, look at just regular day jobs, look at whatever it may be. Like there's bad people everywhere, right? With bad intentions or just power hungry or, corrupted by power or whatever it may be in all industries. But because we're in the trading niche, it's so easy for us to be like, just trading is this bad. I hate trading industry because it's this bad. But in reality is 90% of them are. But one thing I think I reflected on, I can't remember which podcast it was. I think it was one I did. I don't know if I did it recently, but I was basically saying how like it's necessary. Like the good people are a bit more reluctant to do things like start a prop firm or to be an influencer because they feel like this pressure. They see maybe the bad people doing it, and they think I don't want to be associated with that. When in reality, it's the actual reason why they need to do it, because you need more good people with good intention for more people to do that, right? Because you never know, you guys might inspire more people with good intention to either, whether it be, getting on socials as we talked about, or whether it's starting a prop firm, or whether it's starting a different type of business, right? But only through someone setting a standard, like being that role model, if you will. How else are people going to do it? If you lack the role model or the example, it's hard for people to be the visionary to then do it or take that risk. But essentially, you guys are, as you say, putting your reputations on the line and, putting yourself first before anyone else, so that people then have an example to be like, oh, look what these guys did. I'm inspired by that. Versus currently, where you have, there's a ghost CEO of this prop firm, or there's this your lifestyle educator or whatever it may be, and it's like, I don't want to be like that. So then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to push forward in that route because I don't want to be like what is the current example.
Yeah, I listen, man, 100%, and that's kind of like the ultimate thing too. Like, and it all ties back into like everything we talked about before, like complacency, like, having something to look forward to, like, building something like this, right, from the ground up, and then like connecting with different people, and again with all the different marketing ideas that we have, where we can like really add as much value to the trader as possible. Like that actually kind of like gets me a little bit more excited day in, day out, being able to kind of build something with Paladin and with you, Riz, as well, like with the whole prop firm, again, because it's become something that's been popularized, so why not kind of take it into our own hands, create the best product, create the best community, right? At the end of the day, there's no difference between like in terms of like, okay, if this person wants to go with that prop firm or this prop firm, a lot of them do have similar rule sets, right? But if we can create the best conditions in terms of like the best brokers, right, the best spreads, and then create that community where people kind of have that attachment with the brand, that's something that excites me, right? It gets me kind of motivated every single day. And as well, I know Paladin can speak with this as well, because we've talked about this all the time. And there's like a new sense of like ignition, right? Like, when you first kind of like get into trading, you have that fire under you, right? But then once you kind of like slowly start to make money, start to become more consistent, more profitable, you realize trading is just doing the same thing every day, coming in, and you're just like on your keyboard just waiting, But now, like, being able to have this other thing that we can kind of also focus time and attention to, right? And then connecting with people, that's something that resonates with us. And yeah, man, we're just really looking forward to like really putting the best type of content out there, building a community with SFT. And yeah, we're just super excited.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned that, I'm on board as well. And you guys reached out to me a few weeks ago. I feel like a very lucky individual. It's like a lottery ticket, because it's like you guys have been working on it for so long, and then you reached out to me, and we discussed it, and it was incredible, And I think the major thing was like resonating with your values, with your vision, the work ethic as well. Actually having such a strong work ethic, a care for the trader, the experience, the quality in terms of the value that you're able to put out. It was incredible, and I was very thankful for the offer and the opportunity to work alongside you guys, because as you say, there's certain things, especially like within the trading journey, like once you've got it down, the passion is still there, but the fire isn't the same, because you've been doing it for so long. And now it's a bit, as you say, mundane, because the conditions might be different. It might be more volatile one week, whatever, but regardless, like when you're doing it consistently, you need to consistently just do the same thing, right? And then you have all this other time, and it's only fulfilling yourself, really, right? You're just fulfilling your own financial needs.
Yeah.
And you might be able to support your family with that, which is amazing. But in terms of legacy, in terms of that overall impact, what other things can you do? That's where the fire comes for us. For other people, it might not be the same. Right?
Yeah.
They might be fired up from real estate. They just love building properties or renovating properties, right? And I've seen people, my mum's like that. She just loves renovating properties, and seeing the before and afters. And I enjoy it too, but not to that degree. I enjoy this sort of stuff, where you're having a direct impact on people's lives and seeing the, improvements. Because even just from the podcast, let alone from something like a prop firm, for example, just hearing people saying, hey man, I heard, you know, Paladin's story of his father having a stroke and then him struggling, you know, and it happened, you know, similar thing happened to me. Hearing people say that and then be able like, thank you for the interview because, you know, it gave me the fire, it gave me the peace of mind or whatever it may be to know that I can do it or no. And then better yet, 6 months down the line, they message me and say, Riz, I've just been funded. Riz, I've just, you know, quit my job and gone full time. That is priceless. You know, you can't put a dollar figure on that. You can't even sometimes describe what that feels like because it's just like there's no ego involved, there's no malice involved, there's no energy involved. It's purely just like it's a really interesting thing, and I never really felt it until one guy said to me, which was like, "Whereas there's one person out here in the world where everything he does is because you provided him the life that he has." If that makes sense, and I'm sure you guys have had the same impact in terms of, you know, there's people out there now who are full time, providing for their whole family, changing, you know, living their best life. And it's all because of something you might have just said one line, you know? You might have just said one line or one reel that changed their life. And we don't even get to see it half the time. Because most people don't obviously, you know, share their journey or their feedback, if you will. So it's insane. Like there's literally nothing that compares. And especially that fire, as I said, and, you know, for you guys to, you know, bring me in, for example, and allow me to be part of that, you know, I'm quite thankful, you know, very grateful for it and very excited. Because I know, as we talked about, we can't say too much, but I already know we're going to shake things up in a very, very positive way and a fun way, because I feel like it's going to put some prop firms on their toes, you know, not directly, but, you know, they're going to have to up their game, or otherwise, you know, they're going to get obsolete because we're going to come and shake things up.
Without a doubt, man. And yeah, to that point, like, because Paladin and I, we talked about it multiple times off camera, but like now that we're on camera, it just, because again, for us, it's so much about like working with other people who are like-minded and have similar values. And that's why when we talked about it, you know, bringing you on, obviously we all started like kind of our journeys last year. And then when, you know, you and I had that first podcast back in December, and then seeing the work ethic, because again, it's easy for people to have good work ethic when things are going well, but like, you know, you just got traction for the podcast just like a few months ago, but you were doing this for like almost 2 years, you know, and it was consistent uploads. And again, that's something that we kind of value overall as a partner. And we obviously, we obviously see what you're doing with the podcast. We know where this is going. So like to get you on, like that's something that we really wanted as well. So yeah, man, we're really glad to have you on board.
I just feel bad I'm not wearing a t-shirt.
we got you the shirt, yeah.
And also, one thing you mentioned before, how the trading industry is seen as bad. I feel like there is a very high barrier to entry to become an influencer, unless you fake profits. That's the easiest way to become an influencer. But if you don't fake profits, if you're actually making profits consistently, then you can easily become an influencer. But the fact is, just that itself is very hard to do. And that's why there isn't much good influencers out there. And that's another reason why we wanted to have you on board, is because we know you're not one of those bad influencers who just blew up from faking profits, showing your Lamborghini. And it's just one thing, it's just the value is what brought us all together.
No, definitely. And it was an incredible conversation. I remember when we had it, was like, you know, I was like, because obviously I only came in at the later stages. I was like, oh, I had this idea, I had that idea. And you guys were like, yeah, we talked about that already. And it was an amazing thing, because like, you know, as we talked about, it's hard to be a visionary, for example, or to try and do stuff that hasn't been done before and take those risks. And, you know, for me to throw ideas out there that I thought, you know, these are unique, and you know, no one's done this or no one's done that. And then you guys are there like, yeah, we talked about this. And it just really reaffirmed to me that it's such an incredible, I think it's such an incredible power that, you know, that people can't replicate, you know. And, you know, I really do applaud anyone who tries or does do it as well, like has that right intention, has that work ethic and drive and that vision, because it's going to motivate us, you know, because I know what we're like as well in terms of just what we do day to day, what we do with our content, our work ethic, and, you know, even outside of trading, how we are as people.
Yeah.
That, you know, if we have someone who, you know, is our competition, but in a very healthy way in terms of they're doing something better than us and in the right way as well. And we're going to be there like, damn, like, why didn't we think of that? Like, we need to do something as well, you know, and I'm excited for it, you know, and I think it's going to be something very, very interesting, because I truly believe, I know there's a lot of prop firms, but I think this is the first of its kind in terms of how it's presented, you know.
Exactly.
You know who the people are. You've seen us for a long time without a prop firm, no idea of a prop firm, just the trading value, right? And even then we've innovated that side of things, let alone what's going to be possible going into this, which, we're actually super excited for, because even with like the content, even with the podcast, I love the podcast and I don't get bored of it at all. But it's like after a certain amount of time, it becomes very easy. So it's not like a challenge as much anymore. So then you need something else challenging you, which is kind of similar to what we talked about, obviously, in terms of like that light or that spark for you was like obviously challenging yourself. So it's the same here where we're challenging ourselves to something different. And we're, as you say, we're putting our reputation on the line. That's and we worked hard for the reputation. So it's a bit scary in one sense, but, I have full faith in, the intention and the mindset and everything we bring to the table and the change and impact that we want to create. I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And, do you have any sort of like more details in regards to like sort of the prop firm itself that you can share? Because obviously this will come out around launch time, so it'll be already there, I guess.
Like in what capacity? Like
just like, I know we talked about some of the rules and stuff, but anything like, I don't know, broker wise or anything like that?
Oh yeah, like, because number one thing, and it's crazy because like, on Twitter, everyone was always talking about like, 8cap and how they didn't like 8cap. And like, we agreed to like, and this is the benefit of actually being with different prop firms. Like we've seen other prop firms with different servers, different brokers. And again, we just wanted to make sure that, hey, this prop firm has some of the best spreads, some of the best executions, right? That's what we want to emulate as well. Because listen, to already make the percentage in terms of like the profit target, it's already difficult. So how can we make it a little bit easier, right? Let's first of all adopt the no time limits, right? That's super important. So now if someone wants to do the 8% profit target, they can take 2 or 3 months, like no problem. You could do 3% a month. You could do 2% a month consistently and then get funded overall, right? So that's the number one thing that we wanted to make sure was there. Mm-hmm. And then also with having the broker, right? Because everyone hates 8cap because the executions are not that great. The servers are kind of bad. They freeze a lot. Mm-hmm. We don't like, it's already annoying enough to be a trader and to try to trade every single day. Last thing you want is when you finally were patient, you were finally patient for that setup and then your server freezes, right? And listen, at the end of the day, it's going to happen, right? Like the best brokers in the world are going to have some sort of server issues from time to time. Mm-hmm. It's very common. We're not expecting like, 100% like perfectionists, but at the end of the day, when it comes to like ACAP, a lot of the times their servers will freeze consistently. Mm-hmm. So if you're waiting for a trade you finally see and then the server freezes consistently, it's going to affect your performance. You might go on tilt. So we want to make sure that the servers and the brokers that we're using is optimal for that execution because we don't want the trader to have additional psychological barriers. And then also the full 10% drawdown because some firms, they do have they have the unlimited trading days, but they don't offer like the full 10% drawdown, right? So essentially, you're getting less capital. So we want to make sure it was like at the very least industry standard with the 10%. So yeah, those are the things that I think when people go through it, they'll see like, okay, this may be like one of the best options for me as a trader to get funded with.
Definitely. No, it's exactly as you said, setting a new standard, rather than just replicating what's been done and, just going for the same brokers, the same names, etc. So, it should be very, very interesting indeed. And, what do you think in terms of like the value, that can be provided by a prop firm? Because a lot of these prop firms, that's it. They just have the challenge, buy the challenge, that's it, done. But in terms of like the value that you can bring by you running a prop firm, what are you going to be differently in terms of the value?
So for us, the prop firm is just the foundation to providing as much value. The prop firm, we're going to build communities. We're going to have events. We're going to bring other traders on, have retreats. We're going to have all types of things with this prop firm to help as many people as we can. In the end, the goal is just if you have the characteristics of a profitable trader, you will be funded with our prop firm. We're not here to try to take some of your profits. We're not here to try to cut you short. We just want you to succeed in the end.
Definitely. Agreed. Definitely. And, we're going to have a very interesting episode coming up next, actually, to be fair to you, that we will talk about, the sort of the traits of profitable trading. But definitely in regards to the space as a whole, where do you see it going? Because I think that we're going to enter, right? We're going to enter the space and it's already quite competitive. There's already quite a few names starting to throw their names in the hat and try and get, active. And, where do you see it going over the next couple of years then?
Well, the prop firm specifically, honestly, like, it's interesting because I was kind of pondering that as well. To be honest, I'm not too sure because it's a relatively new type of product. So, the prop firm niche, again, because it's a new product, we're not 100% sure in like what capacity, how, like what's going to happen in the future, right? But I think that's what's so important about like how we kind of wanted to go about SFT, where we want to have a partner, like, behind the scenes that has multiple years of experience, that has a full legal team, that has financial backing. Like, we did our due diligence, because if anything were to come up in the future in the prop firm niche, whether it was regulations, right? Some people are so scared to like, talk about it, but that's just the reality of the game. But us knowing that we have a very reliable partner, that has their legal team, they have a lot of experience in the prop firm niche.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, and you know who they are. So like all the infrastructure, you know what I mean? The financial backing as well, so that we can continuously honor payouts no matter what the conditions are, right? And to give us kind of like a little, somewhat of a mentorship, where like they can kind of even like, teach us how all the back end stuff works and stuff like that. That's the best situation. And that's why we kind of like wanted to make sure we had that back end partner, because if something were to happen in the future in terms of regulations with the prop firm niche, we know that we have a good team that's capable of navigating things in the proper way. Yeah. But I think as more prop firms I think that's inevitably going to happen, just because people are starting prop firms with almost no capital backing, and that's what people don't understand. Like, you need to have some sort of financial backing if you want to launch a firm the right way. If with all these firms coming out, like, more and more people are going to get scammed, especially if, these firms are coming out, they have no face to them, that we talked about already. So I think ultimately it's going to come down to which firms are going to be able to kind of create that community and have the proper infrastructure on the back end. And I think those firms are going to be okay in the long term. But I do think that the space is here to stay, to be honest, just because, again, like, the product itself has, I honestly think that they're going to, I'm not going to say replace brokers, but I think they're going to take a lot of market share away from brokers.
100%.
Because of the ability to, I mean, just the firm itself, the model. You're never going to have the ability to access capital compared to what we have now with the prop firm niche, right? So I think ultimately it's here to stay. I think regulations might come in, like, a couple of years down the line. But again, I think firms that are like kind of built up in a way where they can handle all that type of stuff, if it does come in the next few years, which I don't think people talk about a regulation or something happening to these firms like tomorrow. Like, it takes a while. People don't understand. But I think the firms that kind of build everything based off community, have a good backing behind them, and understand how the business model works, I think those firms are going to outlast and kind of, just provide the best opportunities to traders.
Have that longevity, yeah.
Exactly, longevity.
And just to add on to what Omar said, if you want to start a prop firm, you can go start one and have one up within the next month.
Yeah.
But if you want to start a proper prop firm with the proper infrastructure, if you want to have financial backing, like, you will actually pay out these traders, then it's going to take months and months to actually find everything and to create that team. And that's what we're doing here with Smart Funded Trader.
Definitely. And the interesting thing is actually, like, you both changed your lives using prop firms.
Exactly.
So, like, being able to then do the same for others must be an incredible feeling, no?
Yeah, 100%.
That's the goal.
Yeah. That's why our slogan is like, from prop firm traders to prop firm owners, because that's kind of like how our brand kind of came about last year. So yeah, man, we're like super excited for the launch and everything to come, and all the different types of things we have coming forward for all the traders with SFT.
100%. I wonder if you're out there, try and guess what any of the ideas that we have, put it in the comments below. I wonder if anyone will get it.
Yeah.
We won't confirm it. We won't confirm it, but you'll see. I'm very excited myself, and I think it's going to, as I said, shake up the industry. And one thing I wanted to mention on our podcast episode that I literally slipped my mind was your name. I remember you said it's like a nickname, but Paladin, I googled it. I've always heard of, obviously, Paladin. The term before, the name before. So I googled it in terms of definition, and it talks about obviously being a knight, but it also says about being heroic towards a cause, and I found it very interesting, considering obviously SFT, and starting something that's going to impact so many lives. Have you ever sort of reflected on that at all?
100%. Growing up, I've always looked up to like warriors, whether it was the samurais and their Bushido code, and the knights with the chivalry code. And my name is Paladin, but my nickname is Paladin because the Paladin is basically a commander during the medieval times, and they basically live by the chivalry code, and their purpose is just to protect and provide others, to help other people, and that's what I believe my values are as well. So I just go by Paladin because of that.
And I love it. I love it, honestly. And, I've always been fascinated by the samurai as well. Samurai code, the samurai with that way of life. I love all the films like, The Last Samurai and those sort of films as well. Because it's just, especially in this day and age, we see a lot of people that they don't have any sort of code. They don't have any sort of like, anything ingrained in terms of like a teaching, or a way of life. And then they find themselves a bit lost, I think. But when you have some form of code or some sort of, ethos, if you will, right? Or motto. Some people have like a motto. Whatever it may be, like it's so guiding, It's so guiding and it keeps you balanced and keeps you grounded, especially during those hard times, no doubt. Like, was it something, obviously I know that Life of Paladin, you started that after though, no, right? After like the progress in your trading career and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But has it always been your nickname anyway? Paladin was?
No, it hasn't actually. When I became, so back then in high school, I was a nobody. I was just my regular name. And then once I became this Works influencer, I decided to adopt this alter ego and live by that name. Because it's a...
Right then, Raja Bank, I remember he was telling me his.
Because I completely changed. Who I am now is not who I was back in high school. It's a way different person. So I just adopted that name.
No, definitely. Yeah, no. But it's got 4 behind it and it's got a code behind it. Raja was telling me that he thought of his name because of a video he did. Shabba Ranks, that song.
Oh yeah, Shabba, yeah.
That's where he came with Raja Banks from. He was like Raja.
Wait, so his name's not Raja?
No, his name is Raja. Oh, I was like, but the Banks bit, obviously. Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. But it's good though. And at the end of the day, like, it matches the ethos of what you're looking to do with Smart Fund Trader. And it's incredible, and I no doubt at all, it's going to reflect into the impact that's made in the industry as a whole. And I'm very excited for it, very, very excited for it. Well, what are you guys' thoughts in terms of? I'd say wait, we should do a quick fire questions with you because back then we didn't do it then. You didn't do it back then. So we'll do the classic one. Obviously, if you were to meet anyone in the past, anyone rich, famous, not, who would you meet?
That's kind of tough. Well, it could be someone in the present, right?
It can be, yeah.
Who's someone that inspires me today? To be honest, yeah, honestly, I don't think so. I don't think, yeah.
You don't look up to anyone?
Like there are people that I look up to, like, like certain podcasts, like the Ed Milet podcast, Tony Bilyeu, like these types of people. But like, in terms of like sitting down, having a conversation, actually maybe Ed Milet. Ed Milet, yeah, because I kind of like the way he kind of speaks. Like, he's a really good speaker. He has a lot of energy, you know what I mean? He obviously is very successful in his endeavors. So probably Ed Milet if I had to pick one, because I listen to his podcast like on a daily basis. Yeah,
definitely. No, it's I get it. I get it. And obviously we could predict Paladins.
Yeah, that's been
said. 100% we could predict them. That's it. But one thing I will say is, what do you think I think we should do like a little giveaway in the comments. What do you think? By the time this episode drops, we would have launched.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what should the giveaway be though? What do you think?
I mean, I'll leave that to you guys. I'm the new guy, so I'll let you guys.
We'll put
you guys the pressure.
Yeah, we'll put in the description whatever we come up with, because we don't want to rush it. But it's gonna be big. This episode, since it's kind of like us 3 all together for the first time, we'll make it a really big giveaway. Probably a few accounts. So we'll put the details probably in the description below, and then people can kind of follow it from there.
100%. And thank you for all tuning in for this episode. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully this gives you an insight into the mindset that we're bringing towards Smart Funded Trader. Check it out. Check out the website. The link will be in the description, of course. And we're very, very excited because, like I said, we're not coming to just be another prop firm, just be, just another one that, just people sign up to and try out. No, we're looking to completely shift what happens in this industry. And as we've done with the podcast, as Paladin and Omar have both done with their social media presence as well, and the amount of value and quality of value that they drop as well, we're bringing that exact same energy. And if anything, as we've said, our fire is turned up. We're going to do it even more. And, your support means a lot, even so far up until this part of the journey. And we hope that you'll support us, obviously, in our endeavor with Smart Funded Trader as well. Because, like I said, we're going to absolutely crush it. I was going to go crazy. I was about to do something crazy. I was about to swear. I was about to do all sorts. But no, they understand the energy. And I thank you again. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like and comment below. Check out the pinned comment, because that's where we're going to have the giveaway details. And until next time, take care.